Hey, good morning. Video number 3 on the birch trees with the redbird. Today we're going to work on the birch trees themselves, background trees and foreground trees. And remember, with atmospheric perspective, your background trees are going to look more distant, and your up front trees are going to be bolder and brighter. Now, let me mention this, that Old Testament prophecy that I mentioned on the last video, Isaiah 9:6, for unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. Now that prophecy was fulfilled in Luke chapter 2, verses 6 and 7, and you could take that whole chapter. Our family always read the second chapter of Luke before they open presents on Christmas morning. So let's think of that. And so it was, while they were there, the days were accomplished that she should be delivered. And she brought forth her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger. Just to think of it, from Genesis all the way to Luke chapter 2, we see prophecies coming for the fulfillment of the Christ child. And in Luke chapter 2, we see that fulfillment. And that's a wonderful thing, isn't it? That God sent his only precious son. And why did he do that? We're going to talk about that in the next video. But that's why we celebrate Christmas, isn't it? To focus on the fact that God sent his son to us as a child. Now, let's turn to the painting, and we'll pick up where we left off. Okay, so we've got our tape. I put mine in front of a propane gas heater to dry it up. You could do the same in front of a fireplace, or use a blow dryer if you wanted to continue doing this painting instead of in steps, but to do it all at once. I did loosen the bottom tapes so we could strip those off. But before we do that, this step could have been done in the last video, but I want to show you my palette. I have black, white, and then I have two grays mixed. I have white gray and a dark gray. In the background between all that tape, we're going to put a few strips. We're going to take our liner brush like this. Now this is the first time we get to use a paintbrush, and it really doesn't matter how thick or thin the liner brush is, one that you can work with and one that you enjoy. I'm going to take a few of the dark grays, and I'm going to put some of those as branches in the background. So watch me, and I think you can follow along. Before I take the tapes off, whenever you use a liner brush, make sure that you dip it in water first and then roll the brush so that it has a nice fine tip. So somewhere between that white and that blue, I'm going to use this gray to make like a stick tree, crooked, and with the skinniest brush that I have. This is my favorite, is the liner. It just gives us an essence of, and you can take your finger and just rub a little bit where it bottoms out. And so it's softer, so it's not real stiff. I'm going to put a few more branches in. They always go up and out, and maybe some jagged branches. Faded, not real bright, between those pieces of tape, and you want to make them all different. Some of you have taken classes from me before, and you know that it shouldn't be uniform. It should all be different heights. This one is different than that one, and this one is shaped different than the other one. Put them behind the tape. Now that might be a little bit more faded than we desire. So I'm going to take some of that black, roll it in my liner brush with some of my gray to make it more, just a little bit darker, and roll it to a tip. And now I'm going to put some of those trees very slightly over the others, layer. Go over the tape if you want so it would extend past that. Just for variation. Now I don't always soften every edge, but I should have done it right here. And you can always soften it with white too, a little bit of water on your finger, and then go over it. Didn't get enough water on my finger. There we go. As long as it doesn't get drippy, that's the danger of dipping your finger in water. So that just kind of softens it. Okay, they're very light and airy and not real definite and never the same. Make them cross over that tape. So it looks like a forest in the background. It's a forest that we're going to build upon. A little bit of water if your brush gets dry. There you go. Now I think I have enough of that, so I'm going to strip the painter's tape off and the Scotch tape off, and some of it leaked underneath. You can see that that kind of gives a rough surface for the trunks of the trees. There we go. There's another birch tree. That one wasn't too bad. It was just slanted. And this one was definitely bent on purpose. Now you're going to see how this is all going to come together. There's the big one. And let's take that Scotch tape. I kind of like the rough edges that the Scotch tape makes. So if you use a smaller canvas, you could actually use the Scotch tape for your bigger trees. Now I still have the black, the white, and the gray on my palette. The light gray, I'm going to take a bigger brush, probably a square brush or a flat brush, and dip my brush in water and touch my light gray, and I'm going to do down the middle of the skinnier ones. These are the ones that are going to not be as bright and then I'm just going to fade it where the snow comes up. Some of them can go all the way down, but these are in the background, so you don't want them in the forefront, the skinnier ones. Here's a skinny one here. Now this is nothing definite. This is just filling in what we call blocking in art. So I'm filling in the middle of those light colored trees, or the faded trees, let's say, the ones in the background. Now there could be skinny ones up front. This one comes a little further up front. I'm still putting the light gray on this one. I'm going to go a little bit past where that tape was. Okay. Now, for the main birch trees, I'm going to go into solid white. Now, I always like to tint it just a little bit, maybe with a little bit of that light gray, so that's just a little bit lighter than the other trees, but closer to white. So let's go over those. Yeah. And fill in mostly white, just a little bit of light gray in your tree. And as we come down to the snow, I do want to see a little bit difference of the tree and the snow. So that's why I'm adding the light gray to my white. Now let's do this. Come down here, a little bit of water if your brush gets dry. Bring it all the way down. There we go. Oh, that one left some of the tape up there. We don't want to do that. Okay. Now there is a separation here between the big tree and the little tree. I might have to get some more white on my palette. You see the difference in the grays, the lighter one, and those are at least one of them ought to come all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so that's a tree that goes up there. This one here, I didn't go all the way up with the darker gray, so I'm going to do that now. There, and that's the skinnier tree behind the bigger one. Okay, so we have our grays filled in. Now with a rough brush, it can be larger if you want, a square brush. I like the rougher one that it could make serrated, kind of brushy marks. I don't want it all to be solid here. Now with the light gray skinny trees, we're going to go in on the side. My sun source is this way, so my shaded side would go this way, and I'm going to go back don't make this solid, but every inch or so you want to make some strokes with this on the left side of where your tape was, and then maybe come down an inch and a half, 2 inches, and then go leave a space to define that. Leave a ½ inch, maybe an inch there. And the drier, sometimes the better. You don't want to go into too much wetness here. So I'm going to go to that other skinny tree over here. Where is that one? That one's the younger one. Okay, there's one over here. Now, in this case, the sun is on the opposite side of the tree. So you can actually do this the whole way across this one. We're thinking of shadows and how the sun is hitting the tree. So this tree is pretty much in shadow because the sun is on the other side of it. So I'm going all the way across from where the tape is and make it vary too. You know, there's bumps on trees, and I want to cover this whole area just sporadically. Leave a lot of the gray and leave a lot of the white on each edge. And keep it dry as you go back and forth. Notice my brush strokes are going both ways. Now I see an area here that there's still quite a bit of white. I'll dip a little bit of water in there. There, just so I make And if it's varied in color, that's even better. There we go. Okay, now with this one, the shadow is going to be basically the same or tend to go to the right because of the direction of the sun. So you don't want to, I'm just going to do a few lines like that to keep my focus on the right area here. And you might go down an inch, leave a half an inch, come around with that edge of where the tape was and go back and forth. Okay, and that's going to go into the snow. So we have our 3 background trees done. And let's add a little bit of white, because we can add some reflection on that one with some white. I'm going to take my palette knife and put some more white on my palette. There. You may have to add some white. I hope this isn't going too long. You have the general idea, and if you want to pause the video and come back to it, you can always do that. Now I'm going to take the white, and I'm going to go on this side, not too wet. So that varies it quite a bit. I had a little bit of gray on my brush. But make those lines come across so they don't look like tape lines. Okay. Let's do this one. I don't think it's needed as much because there's not as much reflection there, or sunshine shining on the edge. It's still pretty much in shadow. Okay, now let's go to those big trees. You might want a bigger brush. I'm going to do an also gray. Oh, we already did gray, didn't we? Okay. Now I'm going to do some black, but it's going to be stronger. If you want to mix some of that dark gray with it, you can, but it needs to be stronger than the trees in the background. And of course, this side, think of your light source. You're going to go left. Here and there, different sizes of lines. Go all the way to the edge though, so you don't have like a white line going on that downside of the tree. I might even make like a knot there. Just make it stick out and then do that underneath it. You could do the same if you want to. Don't have to. When you see it getting too uniform, try to vary those strokes. Okay, I'm going to go down. See how this one goes down here? I'm going to go down further with this one so it's not the same. Same here. I'm going to go. You notice I didn't even redip my brush. I'm just doing it haphazardly. Okay. Now this takes, maybe it does take a little bit more than 10 minutes. But like I said, you can always come back to it when you have more time. And I'm going to end this one a little bit higher up so the snow covers it better. This one here is basically all in shadow. I'm curving these lines just slightly, both sides, and you want to go all the way to the edge so there's not a white line there. Okay. So it's going to actually be darker because the sun is shining on the opposite side of this tree. I'm going both directions, if you gather that. Make a few, knots in there too. You can make a dot, maybe a recess in the trunk, both sides. Let's try to go all the way across towards the bottom. It's always blacker at the bottom of a birch tree for some reason. Okay, so let's rethink this here. I've got some things going on here I don't like. So I'm going to take my blue. Oh, no, I need the gold, don't I? Take my gold with a smaller brush, and I'm going to separate these right here. Okay, so that tree is separate. Now, since it's a brush instead of a sponge, I'm going to have to go over it with my finger and lighten it up a little bit too. It's a little darker, and with some white. And that's just fixing a mistake. That's not something you should have to deal with, but a little bit of white and gold over that should solve your problem. I see the lines that are not consistent here, and that can be a problem. So you can always take some dark black and go like this and just wind it up together. And having different colors, having different strengths of the black will make it come together as well. There. Now it's defined, but much better, I think. A little bit here and a little bit there. Okay. Well, on this side of these big trees, that gray is not very dark. So I'm going to take my a mixture of white and black, and in places I'm going to fill those spots in, especially on the shadow side. Might be a little dark, add a little bit of white, so there's variation. Really all we're working with is black and white, and then grays in between. Okay, now that looks more like a tree, and we can always do a little bit of this on the right side, so not all the strokes are going left to right. Okay, do the same with this tree. I really didn't think it would take this long to do the birch trees, but if you want nice trees, take some time to do it right. There's some different gray. I'm going to end that one a little further away. Okay, now you still got your white shine on these. You can go back with your white if you want, if you're not comfortable with it. There we go. But I like how this one's doing it. This one's turning out. Looks good. Okay. So now we're going to add some branches. I'm trying to speed up here so you don't get bored. We're going to roll that black, gray, dark gray with your liner brush, so your skinny brush. And you're going to take up and out. It's always fatter near the base of the tree, and there's always shadow underneath. You need a few of these branches, especially for one of the redbird to sit on. And then sometimes I have trouble talking and painting at the same time. I'm sorry. Let's see, bring this around here. Now some of these branches are coming from the front, some are coming from the back. Keep that in mind. And we have to decide where we want our redbird to sit. I think I'm going to put mine up here. So I just want to make sure that there's a branch available for him to put his feet on. And you can go in with gray too for some of these branches. Dark gray works. You can also do white. And then sometimes you can do white and black together. I don't want to put too many branches up there because the redbird's going to cover it up anyhow. I'm rolling my brush again, adding a few branches here. There we go. Make sure you have kind of an even balance, left, right, and not all from one side. That's where you might put a white one in. Let me try a white one on top of that black one there, because it's going to get more sunshine. There we go. Yeah, it really appears more gray, so you can always just use the gray. I got a little bit too much water on that one. But I kind of like the variation of black and white for branches. And what's funny is in nature you see both. Okay, and you don't want to overdo it because your focal point is going to be your redbird. And that is it for today. You might want to split that one up into a couple of days for this week. And then the last video will be the redbird. Thank you so much for watching.